Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another League Two Lowdown podcast here on the Football Deck in partnership with SkyBet. I'm your host, Jack Mitchener, and I'm joined by Luke Payne once again for this one. I feel like I only spoke to you yesterday, mate. How are you?
Yeah, it's not been long. I don't remember the last episode we had where it was same two hosts back to back. It's
I
quite nice
know.
actually. Shades of last season actually. But no, I'm actually excited for this one. We've got something a little bit different planned for today, but I'll let you explain that.
Yeah, no, I like it. Um, so with the coming weekend being the first round of the FA Cup, as we explained on the last pod, we have no League Two fixtures to preview. But fear not, we do have a little something to give everybody their fourth tier feel for the week. Before we get into that, though, I did just want to mention that Accrington, Stanley, and Tranmere played out a 1-1 draw last night. To be honest, it was a result that kind of did little to for either side, whether it was easing relegation fears or trying to push up the table. Um, Frustrating from Accrington's perspective, not able to replicate some of those brilliant performances that they've had. And in my opinion, it's a game that they really probably should have fancied themselves at home. And I suppose flip side for Tranmere, yes, all right, it's only a point, but it is another point. It is another game unbeaten. They've taken 5 points from their last nine possible, which I think is a good return, and it shows a little bit of consistency coming back. What did you make of the game, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I saw bits of this game whilst it was live, and I mean, it was very scrappy. I mean, the conditions didn't help. It was very rainy, to be fair.
Hmm.
Um, but it was just one of those games. It just wasn't a great one for a neutral, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, Accrington had plenty of chances, and I think you're right. They probably should have done more with the game, if I'm being totally honest. They obviously started well, getting the early goal, but didn't really kick on too much after that in terms of just being ruthless and finishing the rest of your chances. And obviously that's given Tranmere something to cling on to. I don't think it was a particularly encouraging performance for either team. It's just one of
Mm.
those you kind of just have to take it and move on. It's just an awkward midweek fixture, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was one of those. I've got to be honest. It had shades for me of somebody just nicking it right at the death out of absolutely nothing. But they both got a point. They'll both move on. Right, on to more interesting subjects. So, in the absence of any kind of real structure, the League Two lowdown team we've put together our own underrated 11s. Hopefully, to allow us to shine a light on some of those players that kind of consistently fly under the radar in League Two, but deserve to be celebrated. So Luke and I are going to take you through ours, and then we're going to have a little look at some of the other team members at the very end. I'm pretty sure we're all going for different formations and shapes and whatever else. This might be a little bit all over the place, but we'll start nice and simple. We'll start with the goalkeeper. Luke, I'll hand over to you first. Who have you got in goal?
I've gone for Barrow's keeper, Will Stanley, and I feel like Barrow fans are going to say, "What do you mean he's not underrated?" But I think in the
Yeah,
context of the entire league, he probably is because although Barrow fans definitely see him as one of their better players, if I was to go up to a random League Two fan and say who are the best keepers in the league, you're probably going to hear, I don't know, Connor Ripley, Matt Macy, Craig McGillivray, Luke Southwood. That'll probably be about it. Maybe
yeah.
one or two others, but I don't think Stanway's name would come up. But actually, statistically, he's been absolutely fantastic. He's got the best save percentage in the league with 77.3%, and the most goals prevented with 2.6 as well. And I mean, even if you just look away at this, or away from the stats, if you actually watch him play, he is a very commanding presence. Actually, I've been very impressed with him. Um, I think well, the stats kind of say it there as well. He has prevented so many goals for uh, in Barrow's favour, and I think he's made a real difference. He's one that if you put him into another side towards the top end, you'd be thinking they've got a very good keeper there, and I think he's one that's gone under the radar so far this season.
Yeah, no, I like it. Do you know what? Will Stanway was one of the three that I was umming and ahhing over, but I ended up going for Matthew Hudson, Oldham Athletic, in
Good
the end.
shout.
It was between him, Will Stanway, and Joe Day. But celebrating Matthew Hudson being at the base of the best defence in League Two, I think he absolutely deserves a shout. He's kept 6 clean sheets in 14 games and only conceded 12 overall, which is incredible for him. I didn't realise this is actually his first stint in EFL or in league football. I think he made an appearance for Preston as a youngster at Leeds United. I think I read somewhere, but he's never really played EFL football. Obviously, very aware that with defensive statistics and Oldham have been very good. It doesn't all come down to Matthew Hudson, but I think any defence that are as good as they are, it wouldn't be possible without a solid goalkeeper behind them. He's only 27 as well, which for a goalkeeper, he's only really just coming into his prime years, I would say. So who knows? He may end up being able to push up the leagues, push up the divisions with the numbers that he's got. I dare say he'll have some people looking at him. I don't have any examples of phenomenal saves that he's made or individual amazing performances, but he's definitely a goalkeeper that commands his box. He communicates. I saw that when Jules went to Oldham. I'm also a bit of a sucker for a story like this, and actually, this is going to be a bit of a common theme with my team. But I love a story of a player who drops into the non-league, into the lower echelons of the game, and then end up coming back up and getting their career up and running again. It's sort of story that I like. But yeah, I've gone Matthew Hudson, but I think both goalkeepers absolutely deserve a bit of the limelight. Um, Right, we'll move on. I think this is where it's probably going to start getting a little bit interesting with shapes and whatnot. But I love a back three when it's played the right way, and I think League Two is absolutely littered with really, really, really good centre halves that probably don't get the credit because it's not the interesting position for most people. I'll start things off with this, and I am kind of contradicting the rules that I set in place for myself because I'm trying to pick players that I haven't really covered too much in the pods. But I am going to start with Farron Rawson. I have definitely brought him up before, but he will be heart dead centre of my back three. Um, he's been unbelievable for Accrington Stanley over the last couple of years, and actually he's been consistent everywhere he's played. I think. He's Morecambe, Mansfield, Forest Green, League One football. He's been absolutely brilliant everywhere he's been. I think what impresses me the most about him though, look, he's a 6'4", League Two, old school, head it, kick it out, kind of a centre half. But it's what he does as a leader that impresses me more than anything else. Especially with this time at Accrington Stanley, because he's been asked to be generally Accrington. You've got two or three really experienced senior pros, and then you kind of the rest of the team is kind of littered with inexperience. It might be non-league players, it might be young players, but certainly if you look at what he's done very, very recently for the likes of Devon Matthews and Ben Ward, I think he as the rock at the back has really brought them on leaps and bounds. I actually watched him the first game of the season. Jules were actually Stanley. I watched him almost coach Josh Smith, who was making his league debut. I think he's 20 for Accrington Stanley. He almost coached him through the game, and he played really, really well. Really, really impressed. I am going to go a little bit off topic, and I think Crew fans, I'm going to apologise to you immediately. But if I'm Lee Bell and the recruitment team at Crew Alexandra, there is your Mickey Dimitri replacement. I don't think you could get any better than Farron Rawson with the way that they play and with how they bring players through, and with what Dimitri's done at the sort of the heart of their defence. So yeah, my first of three is Farron Rawson.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a decent shout. He's definitely someone that's caught my eye in the past as a defender that I'm worried about. I think even earlier when we played him earlier in the season, I was thinking, oh, he's one we're going to have to really sort of worry about. But I think it turns out he wasn't playing that game, so we still managed to lose that one anyway. But anyway, so we move on.
Move on.
The first one I'm going to go with is a little bit of a different shout. I've gone with an older player again. I've got Rodney McDonald, not Notts County. Obviously, 3 years old, and I don't. I feel like he's just suddenly emerged out of nowhere, even though he's as old as he is. I don't like. I don't recall him ever being quite so strong of a centre half. I mean, he's very good in his duels. Whenever I look at the Notts games, I have a little deeper look to see who's been playing well, who hasn't. He's always someone that seems to be like right up there as one of their top performers, which has definitely surprised me, given some of the players they've got in that squad. But yeah, I'm just like he's just proven to be a well-rounded player. So like, which again I just wasn't expecting when I look at some of the previous teams he's played for. He's been sort of bit part player at Harrogate. Had a little spell at Crewe, Carlisle, a certain team from South London that I don't particularly want to talk about. but no, I think as he's got older, he's actually like still improving, which I think is quite rare for a centre back to be entering their 30s and still be improving as a player. I think that's truly
Absolutely.
something. And I mean, fair play to Notts. They've got a good player on their hands there.
Absolutely. Do you know what? I think he was one. I think he came in at the same time as like Matty Platt, Lewis Macari,
Mm.
Jacob Badoa. And I think he was probably one of those signings where the Notts fans went, okay, fine. But
Yeah, just
like you say, he's
he
really,
exists.
really come on.
Like,
Yeah. But
yeah.
really, really, really put in performances. Um, my second centre half of my three is Omar Sawunmi from Bromley, and I get it. I know it's another giant, 6'4", Farron Brawson, and 6'6", Omar Sawunmi. Gills fan, love a big centre half. I love a set piece. I get it, but I absolutely love him. I was, to be honest, I was. It was a couple of years ago. We went to Sutton United. It was a pretty poor game. I think we edged it 1-0. But I remember seeing him for the first time in that game, and I thought, oh, I want him. I'd love him in my side. He was just terrifying, especially from set pieces. But look, he's aggressive. He's absolutely massive. But he's also, I feel like he's more mobile than you'd expect him to be as well. He's not slow. He doesn't run in quicksand. He's a genuinely good centre half. Wins everything in the air, but more than anything, he scores goals, which again in a centre half is absolutely brilliant. Last season, he grabbed 6 goals and an assist across 40 matches for Bromley. This season, he's already got 3 goals and 2 assists in 15 games. So he's on course for beating last season's record already. Um, Digging a little bit deeper on him as well, it's not even just the goals that he scores; it's what he does for the other players. Because clearly, set pieces, we all know with Bromley, that's one of their biggest strengths. And I think when you've got a player like him coming into the box along with everybody else that Bromley have got, they're doubling up on Suwumni, which is just allowing space. So, yeah, brilliant player, great centre half. He's got better attacking numbers than most attacking players in League Two at the moment. So, yeah, definitely have him in my side.
Well, yeah. I mean, you've pretty much taken the words out of my mouth because I believe that is the only player we've both got that's the exact same. I also have some on
Yeah,
me in there. But just to touch a little bit more on his defensive stats, I mean, for Jules one already, he's on 118 from what 12 games for some 14 games, something like that. It's not many.
yeah,
Um, and then add another 90 aerial duels on top of that. He genuinely is just that much of a dominant centre half,
yeah,
and you can imagine him among the likes of an Aidan Flint, Shea Dunkley, Carl McFadzean, Jack Sanders. Like you could put him in that same sort of category of just a big guy you don't really want to face. Like
absolutely, yeah,
he's just one of them, and just one that's gone under the radar due to his career path. He's obviously spent obviously a while with Bromley, spent a little bit of time with Sutton as well, Colchester, but he hasn't been as high up in the divisions as he'd probably want. But I tell you what, there's a very good player there.
absolutely. And do you know what? It would be really interesting. I'd love to hear from Cole U fans just to get their opinions on him from when he was there. I appreciate it was a long while ago, and it doesn't really seem like he'd settled anywhere properly until Sutton. So it'd be interesting to hear what their thoughts were on him. My final centre half, and I'm going to hold my hands up. There is some recency bias creeping in a little bit into my team, but it's Adebola Aluo from Salford City. What a pickup he was! Oh my god! Um, so you spent the last couple of years down in the National League at Barnet, and he played 38 times last season for them, obviously in their promotion season. So he obviously played a big part. From what I can see, he spent pretty much all of his career based in the south. So I think he was at Chelmsford before he moved to Barnet. So the fact that he's moved all the way up to Salford under a manager like Cole Robinson, playing for a club with the kind of resources that Salford have got, so they could effectively bring in whoever they wanted to. Um, it's really impressive how I think he started every single game. He's managed to grab a couple of goals already, but honestly, on Saturday, that was one of the best centre half performances I've seen for a long time from a player coming up. And it's not that he does anything dramatically brilliantly. He's just one of those centre halves that I just don't know. He's not going to lose a battle. He's not going to lose it. He's not going to lose a duel. He's not going to lose anything to his marker. Strong, quick, brilliant in the air. He had Sam. It was Sam Vokes, Josh Andrews, and Seb Palmer Holden kind of climbing all over him at different parts of the game, and he just wasn't phased. Absolutely brilliant. What a pickup from Salford. He is the first of two that I'm going to be talking about for them over the course of this episode. But yeah, a real prospect and a real asset. I think they've managed to grab there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We shall move on now. We'll move on to the we'll go right back. I'm obviously right wing back with my three at the back system, but we'll start with yourself, mate. Who have you got on the right hand side?
Okay, so I'm playing a 4-3-3. By the way, if anyone was randomly interested in my formation, I've gone for Paul Warne's original system with a very weird midfield, but we'll get onto that. Anyway, so no, my right back, I've gone for Adam Senior of Barnet, and I mean this is someone I believe I highlighted when he made the move in the summer actually as a potentially really good signing, and I mean it's proven to be the case already. You know, with some players, it kind of takes them a while when they make that first jump up a division, and it can take them a while to find their feet. I think he's done it straight away, to be honest. Contributed a couple of goals, a couple of assists already. And then again, I just look at his stats, and pretty much every single one is green. It's good. It's very, very good. He's a very well-rounded player. And again, he's only young. What, 23, I believe? Yeah, 23. Uh, and to be hitting the EFL quite like that at that stage, I think it's highly encouraging, not just for Barnet, but for his own career as well. I think we're looking at someone here that might not be in League Two that long. I could see him getting a move up the ladder very, very quickly, if I'm being honest. Although, well, hopefully Barnet will at least get a season of him to before he does actually end up making that move. But he just looks like a very good all rounder. He's obviously got the attacking capabilities. He's not afraid to run at his man, but then he's still strong defensively. Does well in his duels and all of that side of the game as well. He's a very good all round player, and like I said, one that I think will go far.
Yeah, do you know what? It's interesting. It's a really good pick, and I think, like you say, when he went to Barnet, it definitely raised a few eyebrows elsewhere, especially big non-league fans. I think they thought he'd almost skip League Two. Yeah, alone go to a side who've been recently promoted. So yeah, he's had a great start. On my right hand side, my right wing back, I've gone for Joe Snowden of Swindon Town. Clearly, doing this, I'm obsessed with the EFL and all things League Two, but I genuinely had no idea who this guy was when Swindon signed him. Didn't have a clue, which makes this all the more interesting. So they grabbed him on a short term deal. I don't know whether it was till January or till the end of the season, but they grabbed him from Leeds United's academy, which generally is a pretty good start, to be fair, when you're picking up a young player. But his performances have been absolutely amazing. I mean, from my understanding, Swindon have given him a new 2 year deal just within this month. So that gives you an indication of how well he started the season. Probably a good idea from Swindon's perspective, because I think they would have lost him pretty quickly otherwise. But yeah, look, stats wise, he's played 14 times this season. He's grabbed 5 goal contributions already. From the right hand side, it's 1 goal and 4 assists, which is only one fewer assists wise than Charlie Vernon, who's top of the assist table at the moment. Clearly, I mean, Swindon are a great, exciting attacking team. So he's managed to slot in there and fill in really, really well and contribute. So yeah, bit of an unknown. I don't think he's going to be underrated for very long, to be honest, given the fact that he's a young player. But yeah, Joe Snowden of Swindon. Left hand side, Luke. Who's your left back?
It's kind of a little bit of a cop out because I don't think he's really a left back. He's at most a wing back. I've gone for Isaac Heath. He's very much an attacking player, if I'm being honest. I just really wanted him in the team.
Yeah.
I mean, I've spoken about him on the pod before. He is an enigma. It's just the energy he brings into that Accrington side. I noticed it a couple of games before they played us, and as soon as I realised, I was like, okay, that's the one we've got to worry about. And sure enough, he was the one that caused us problems.
Mm.
It's just the energy he brings. I know he's on loan from Everton, only 21, so again, not going to be underrated for very long, I don't think. But again, it's just that you can see the sheer potential in him. I don't think his consistency is quite there yet, but I have a very strong feeling that based on the way he plays and the confidence he plays with, he is going to get there, and it's just a matter of time and getting that experience. Because I know in terms of end product at the minute is only 1 goal and 2 assists, but every minute he gets, it's just a minute closer to the moment that something clicks for him and he finds that sort of more consistent level. uh, I genuinely rate him very, very highly. It might take another season for him to really find his potential, but I think it's a matter of when rather than if.
Yeah, do you know, I see him and I look at him and I think he's probably going to be one of the hottest second loan options for somebody in League One next season, isn't he? Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
Um,
for sure.
my left wing back, and to be honest, this is probably the most borderline shout I've got of the lot because everybody knows how good this guy is. I've gone for Mitch Pinnock of Bromley. Um, the thing that makes it underrated, in my opinion, is the fact that he's playing for Bromley, not so much that it's Mitch Pinnock. I would have actually put Finley Munro in there had I have not been waxing lyrical about him for the last couple of weeks. Um, Look, obviously up to this season, Mitch Pinnock, he has been really successful pretty much everywhere he's been and everywhere that he's played. I think every League Two fan or anybody that's been following League Two for a long time will remember that 22-23 promotion season for Northampton when Mitch Pinnock and Sam Hoskins ripped everybody to pieces. Um, However, up until this season, he's kind of been deployed more as an out-and-out winger or maybe even a number 10. But under Andy Woodman, he's been pushed back a little bit to left wing back. But I think it's suited him, and I think it's definitely suited the Woodman Bromley style. He's already got 4 assists in 14 matches, so he's pretty much picked up from where he left off last season. But he has had to adapt. Um, but what makes this probably one of my favourite signings of the summer was just what Woodman signed him for. I honestly don't think Andy Woodman gave any thought to the fact that he's 30, gave any thought to the fact that he's not particularly quick. He's just looked at Mitch Pinnock and gone, right, you can do this one thing fantastically well, and I'm going to get people in the box that are going to get on the end of it. The fact that Pinnock's dead ball delivery is as good as it is, and he's got these long throws as well. And you've got the likes of Idris Odateo. We've already spoken about Sawunmi, Michael Cheek, Nicky Kabamba. I could probably list another 3 or 4 that are just waiting, lining up in the box is an absolute thing of beauty. So yeah, kind of a match made in heaven. He's been absolutely brilliant for them so far, and I would imagine it's just going to continue. I would expect him to get double figures assist wise quite comfortably by the end of the year. Um, Okay, we'll push up into midfield. This is where I've actually used my Gills inclusion. So I'll take the first one if you don't mind, mate. I've started with Robbie McKenzie. Look, this guy, and I haven't really mentioned him too much, to be honest with you. Again, that's why it makes him underrated. But he can literally play and has played absolutely everywhere since we were introduced to him about 5 years ago when he first came in on loan from Hull. We've had him at centre back. He's played right back. He's played defensive midfield, attacking midfield. He's played on the left and right of a diamond. He is literally the description of a Swiss Army knife as a footballer. But when he's fit, irrespective of what's going on elsewhere in the squad, he's one of the first names on the team sheet now. He's absolutely brilliant. He did last season finally make a position his own, though. Um, he central midfield is where he found his home. And he actually managed to score a couple of really important goals for us to kind of keep us away from danger. One was at MK Dons. Admittedly, he had a bit of help, but the other one was an absolute screamer away at Walsall. And since then, he literally has not been out of the team. If he's fit, he plays. Attitude's great. Seems a lovely bloke. He's worn the armband for us over the last sort of 6-7 months or so. I'll be honest, I've kind of lost track who our actual captain is at this point. So many people have worn it. That's a different conversation. But he was rewarded with a 2-year contract extension this summer, and we were all absolutely delighted with it because he really is a fan favourite now. But what I love the most about him is that he's as I said, he's been with us for the last kind of 5 years on and off in different variations. But the last 5 years for us have been really, really difficult for many different reasons. And twice he's had the opportunity to move on and leave, and he hasn't. I appreciate Gills fans, before I'm shouted at, one of those times was touch and go, and I know he was looking at his options, but he has stayed with us, and yeah, really, really, really good midfield player, but he can do a job absolutely anywhere. So yeah, Robbie McKenzie, absolutely love him.
Yeah, I'd say that's a decent shout. And also, I have used my own chip of getting a Dons player in there at the same time as well.
Got to do
So
it.
why not, right? Yeah, I've gone for Connor Lemonhay Evans, which I think immediately it's quite obvious as to why he's underrated, because I feel
Hold on,
like
sorry,
whenever
didn't he
any
play for that team in South London as well? Or am I?
he did, I've realised how many of those of the players I've got in my there's about 4 that have played for them in this 11, which is really weird. I wish I'd checked that now, so maybe I wouldn't have put him in. No, that's not how it works. But no, we like him though because he's turned to the good side. So, but no, I mean, whenever you speak to anyone about Dons at the minute, if they don't say franchise, they say, "Oh, well, with the money they spent," and then they start listing all these players to you, which normally consists of Aaron Collins, Mendes Lang, Hepburn Murphy, all the rest of it. Not one of them will ever say Lemonhay Evans. Absolutely never.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think he's just one of those players. He's a proper grafter of a midfielder, and albeit it hasn't been the fastest start for him this season. Again, that's just due to injuries. But I genuinely think he's a very key part of this team when he is available. He's got that versatility. We chucked him in at right back for a little bit because both of our right backs were injured. That's perfectly fine. He'll go and do that. Same if we struggled on the left, we could chuck him in there. But obviously, natural and centre mid. Like I say, he's just a very good battler. And he's not afraid to carry the ball forward as well. He's just everything you want in a sort of physical League Two centre mid. Sorry, but while still having enough technical ability to suit our side. So he's someone for me that goes under the radar entirely. Opposition fans are never going to look at him and be like, "That's the one I'm worried about." But actually, he is a very, very good player.
yeah, yeah. Again, similar with the Robbie McKenzie, those players are absolutely invaluable in your squad, aren't they? Fill in wherever needed. My second central midfield player is somebody I've been a fan of since I first saw us play against. I think it was Cheltenham Town. It was some time ago, but I remember looking at him and thinking, "Oh, I like him." Elliot Bonds of Fleetwood Town. He's my type of central midfield player. Never stops running. Really aggressive, strong, pretty good in the air as well. To be fair, and actually, as of this season, he's popping up with the odd goal contribution, which is making him even more impressive in my eyes. Generally a really consistent performer from what I can gather. Definitely privy to the odd yellow and red card, but again, especially in League Two, he's exactly the sort of midfielder I'd want in my team. That kind of bite and that aggression, it's lost on a lot of teams, I find. Um, and having somebody like him just allows the more technical players to get on the ball and play and do what they're good at. Um, he's played 13 times for Fleetwood this so far this season, and as I mentioned, he's actually got 5 goal contribute, three goals and 2 assists, which is the best return of his career to date. And we've got so much football left to go. Only 25 years old. I can see him going up the pyramid from next season, whether that's with Fleetwood or not, because I think he would be very comfortable and has been very comfortable at League One level.
Yeah, again, I'd say that's an excellent shout. And yeah, moving on to my next one, this is another player that I've all of a sudden realised has also played for that team. It's like, for
You
God's
can't
sake.
get away from each other. You really can't.
Yeah, I know, it's a nightmare. Um, but now I've gone for Max Sanders, obviously at Crew, and this is probably like one of my most questionable ones because he spent a lot of his career at League One. But I feel like he spent a lot of his career at League One, but being sort of, well, I don't know I don't know how to put it without sounding like unnecessarily harsh, but it's kind of a case of he's just been there. He's not been a standout player. It's
Yeah,
just been someone that's sort of gone through the motions without necessarily hitting the peak of their form. Uh, Whereas now with Crew, I actually think he's starting to get there, even during times where they haven't necessarily looked that good. Obviously, they had the entire fall off thing at the end of last season, which we don't talk about because also that bad. But he's been around for all of that, and then he's kind of come back this season, and statistically, he's been absolutely fantastic, and he's become a key sort of cog in that in their midfield. Again, not the flashiest player or anything like that, but he's just one that's going to sit in there and do a job both offensively and defensively. And again, I think he's just one that sits under the radar a little bit, although knowing Crew, maybe not for long. Well, to be fair, I suppose he's on the older side as far as Crew players go. 26 for Crew is kind of old, but
He's over the hill. Yeah, blimey.
yes. But no, I think as far as centre mids go, I'd say he's definitely one of the underrated ones, and you're kind of noticing a theme hit already here. I'm not going with attacking midfielders. They're always ones that sit a little bit deeper. But I think there's a lot of those in League Two that deserve a lot more credit.
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, it's great when you see players like you say who have been in and around in the division above, but come down, drop down a level to play and really look good doing it. So yeah, fair play. My final midfield shout, my number 10, we'll call it, is it's Callum Ceesay from Salford. Again, a little bit of recency bias creeping in. I can't lie, but the affection I've got for that Salford recruitment policy in the summer is absolutely off the charts. Um, Another non-league acquisition. He was playing at Wildston for the last couple of years. I think he was at Spurs' academy before that. Again, it's never a bad start, is it? But playing for Wildston for the last couple of years, he absolutely ripped us to pieces in that first half on Saturday, almost on his own. 6'1", he's a proper athlete, strong, powerful, but that I was expecting. I didn't think he was as technically good as he is. Really good on the ball. His relationship with Dan Udoh, I believe, is the reason Salford is so good at the moment. Appreciate I haven't seen much of Salford in the flesh, but to me, it looks like Carl Robinson sets them up to get the ball to Cisse, who will then get the ball to Dan Udoh, and really dangerous. 17 games, 6 goal contributions for, again, another player. This is his first season in the EFL. He's only 23. Brilliant for Salford. That's two assets with him and Oluo, who can grow with them as well. I don't think they're going to be players they'll sell in the summer. I think they could get promoted with them and they could slot straight in League One without a problem at all. So yeah, number 10, my attacking midfielder is Callum Ceesay. We will take a very short break before we get on to the fun, exciting positions up front for our SkyBet fan feature for this podcast, and we're looking at our shouts, our recommendations for the October Manager of the Month. We've got 4 names to choose from. I'll go through them, and Luke, I'll get your opinion on which of these managers you think deserves it. First up, I've got Martin Patson from Notts County, 10 points out of 12 for the month of October. Steve Cottrell, second shout, Cheltenham Town again, 10 points out of 12. Danny Cowley, this one crept up on me. I missed this slightly. I won't lie, because I was quite pro Patterson on the podcast at the weekend, but I hadn't realised that the Cowleys had also gone 10 points out of 12 in October. So definitely worth a conversation. And we have, probably more so for an honourable mention, just pop Michael Appleton in there for Shrewsbury Town, 8 points out of a possible 12. I think that's a really good return for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a weird month for League Two, just because of how insanely inconsistent it's been. And I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit in the last episode that had we won our game against Bromley, it would have just gone to Paul Warren easy because we'd won all
Yeah,
4 games.
absolutely. Yeah.
But the fact that we've then lost, you've then got a few teams that have gone above us in terms of points. Well, Shrewsbury didn't, but I think more based on the expectation of how many points they'd get. I think eight points is a decent return, especially when you consider how far down in the table they are. But it is really tricky to choose between them. I mean, initially we were kind of discussing Patterson as an obvious sort of choice for it, and Notts have been very good at it. I mean, they've been grinding out results. Decent wins over Oldham, Barnet, Cambridge, and even holding Swindon to a draw. I know Swindon are on top of their game in a minute, but that still feels like a decent result. But I kind of come back to the Cowleys because with Colchester, and it's just looking at the feats that they've been able to manage in the last month. In the same month, they've held a free scoring Swindon side to 0-0, which, albeit not a win, but that's their only draw, and they did it by
And a and
stopping
and
a
a
free
and
scoring
a very
team.
Cowley's result, but probably the only one in the whole month.
Well, yeah, exactly that. And at the other end of the month, to go and score 6 past Chesterfield, which is
Absolutely.
ridiculous. I mean, we've gone on about Chesterfield not being as strong defensively as everyone maybe thought they were, but I feel like I could put money on them not conceding 6 in a game again this season. That is a very impressive thing to be able to pull off. So, although I was initially leaning towards Patterson, I think I'm kind of shifting in favour of Cowley's. I do think Cotterill does deserve some credit at Cheltenham. I think my reservations with that are kind of what we discussed in the last episode, being, is this just new manager bounce, which I do kind of fear it could well be. So for
Yeah.
that reason, I'd probably lean towards Cowley's.
Yeah, do you know what? I won't add. I'm not going to add too much more to what you just said because I think you put it absolutely perfectly. I think I'm gonna. I think I would stick with Patterson myself, purely because, as I mentioned on the last podcast, it's the process that they've gone through and it's what he's managed to put in place and they've built it sustainably. I think the Cowleys, phenomenal month for them. If they do it again, I'm really going to be thinking, okay, they're absolutely contenders now, and it's his. If they can go another what, 4 games, 5 games, and score consistently, win some, don't draw them, I'll be firmly behind them. I do. Steve Cotterill's done an amazing job. New manager bounce. I do think it's going to be a bit flash in the pan. I'm not going to lie, but I think absolutely brilliant month for them. And again, Shrewsbury Town. It's an honourable mention. Fair play to them. The games that they've had this month, whilst you could probably look at them and say, okay, well, some of them were a lot of these teams are down the bottom end, with the exception of Cambridge, I suppose, Oldham as well. They've been high pressure games. The Crawley Town game at home, really high pressure, must win already. The away game at Barrow, don't lose it. They didn't lose it. They got a good home win against Cambridge. So I'll stick with Patterson, but I think Patterson's Cowleys. I think either getting that would be much deserved. Right, we'll get back onto our 11s. For the strikers, really, really difficult to pinpoint strikers that I could class as sort of underrated or under the radar, because with strikers, they're all judged on one thing. And that's all anybody cares about. Obviously, I know you've got a couple of wingers in there, haven't you? So if we'll start with whichever, left or right, dealer's choice.
Well, I've also just realised we actually missed one of my centre mids and doing because
Oh,
of
did
our
we?
weird
Oh,
formation. We
sorry. Let's
did,
go
yeah.
back. Let's go
It's all
back.
good.
Who did we miss?
To be honest, I didn't notice either. I totally forgot.
You're down.
So
You're
that,
down to 10 men.
I can't believe it. But no, I'll touch on that centre mid very quickly, just so we get his
Yeah, go
moment.
for it, please. Yeah.
Uh, I've I've gone for Tom Conlon of Oldham, which is again one that's definitely, well, I don't think Oldham fans would necessarily say under the radar in terms of their own fan base's thoughts on him, but in terms of the league as a whole, I think he's one that goes under the radar entirely. And to be honest, I think the results for Oldham actually show that in itself. I know they lost against Notts County, and then he got injured in the cup game against Rotherham. But they haven't actually won since he got injured. And I know it's only been 3 games, but
Interesting,
straight
though. I
away,
didn't know
that
that. Yeah.
stands out to me as someone that was very, very key in that side. And again, he's not like the flashiest player or anything like that, but he is that sort of that midfield energy that you need in League Two to be able to grind out results. And I think they're really missing him at the minute. And again, statistically, yes, he's not like the flashiest player in the sense that he's not going to do too much in the final third, but in terms of just keeping things steady in the middle, I think he's the perfect sort of player for them, and it's a shame that he is, of course, missing with injury at the minute,
Of course. Yeah.
which I believe is long term as well, possibly,
It
if I
is.
remember
Yeah. Yeah.
correctly.
From
Yeah,
what I've seen.
yeah, so that's a huge loss for them and a problem that they could potentially end up having to try and resolve in January if we're proved right, and he does turn out to be that key of a player for them and that big of a
Yeah.
miss. But anyway, let's bring it back to wingers and stuff. I'll go with my right winger first because I've kind of done a little bit of a cop out and messed around with my what I can get away with. In other words, I've put Mitch Pinnock there, even though he's not a right winger anymore.
I like it.
And you've
Yeah,
already spoken about him, so I don't have to say too much. I'm just going to say his set piece deliveries are very, very good. And again, he's another player that's played for that a lot, so doing
indeed.
really well, doing really, really well. But I think it kind of says everything that this was a player that I was looking at in the summer and thinking, oh, I wouldn't mind if we signed him. And
Yeah,
obviously, you're not going to get too many people at Dons that would have thought that naturally because he's not necessarily as high profile as the players we brought in. But having someone that can cross the ball that accurately at League Two level is absolutely killer. And he is absolutely one of the best crossers of the ball in the division. And when you play that way with Bromley, I think they played about 29 crosses or something against us. When crosses are so crucial to your game and you've got that many sort of physical players to aim for, I mean, it's a perfect combo, isn't it?
absolutely, absolutely. Um, I'll move on to the first of my two strikers as I'm playing the 3-5-2. Um, Really interesting one, and I'll be honest, not a player that's jumped out at me off the page until relatively recently. Now, apologies, Barnet fans, please correct me if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. It reads Lee and Lovu, but I believe it's in Love. So I'm going to go with in Love and tell me if I'm wrong and give me some abuse in the comments if you need to. Um, but look, with everything that happened in the summer with Barnet, with their recruitment and the names that they've brought in, as I said, I'll be lying if his name was one that bounced off the page. Um, believe they signed him in January of 2025 when they were down in the National League. I believe they signed him on a free from Boreham Wood, where he had a pretty modest goal scoring record. And again, with what they've done in the summer, they've signed Ronnie Stutter in on loan from Chelsea. Joe Hugill came in from United. Pretty sure he's injured, but still. Um, EFL veteran and ex-Jules player Ollie Hawkins came in. They've just signed Britt Sombalonga. Quality of Callum Stead already there. Genuinely didn't envisage him being somebody that I would be talking about. But he started the season really, really, really well. Another EFL debutant. Um, 11 appearances so far, only 7 starts, 5 goal contributions, which I think is phenomenal. Three goals and 2 assists. Look, I'm not sure what role he plays in the squad. I'm not sure how he performs over 90 minutes or where he is in the pecking order because they've got so many options. But if you've got a player within the final third that can put numbers up like that, that's going to be massive for Barnet. But as I said, a player that's popped up out of nowhere. So Barnet fans, please let us know and give me some background on him because he's absolutely caught me completely off guard. But really, really good season so far from him.
Yeah, I'd say that's definitely a decent shout, and probably one that's gone totally under the radar for me as well. To be fair, so definitely a good shout. I'll tell you what, I'll do my other winger first before I do my
Yep.
striker. So I've gone with Stephen Duke McKenna of Harrogate, and this is one I've put in because, well, primarily because I think I've spoken on his signing before and thought very underwhelming, and actually I think I'm wrong. So, uh, I know some of his previous spells haven't necessarily been the best. Like he's had moments like at Sutton, probably a good example where there were glimpses of the player he could become, but we didn't necessarily see it. But I think beginning of this season now, we're really starting to see what he's about. He's got 5 goals and 1 assist already. Um, and it's just his willingness to drive at the opposition. And I can't remember which team he scored it against, but there was one specific moment I remember where he cut inside and just ripped someone apart.
I think you're talking
Um,
about Gillingham, and I think you are. Is that?
it is actually. I actually didn't. I had a feeling it could have been, but I couldn't remember for sure. But thank you.
Oh dear. I'll take that on the
Sorry.
chin.
Well, there you go. Case
No,
in
it was a
point.
cracking goal. To be fair to him, cracking goal.
But no, this is it. I feel like he's been capable of that the entire time, but we've not necessarily seen it. But I think this season, I think he's now 25, and we're starting to see it. And I think this could be the beginning of him becoming a real force at this level.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely putting some consistent performances in, and Yeah, again, the sort of player I really like. Gets the ball on the floor and he runs at people. Absolutely, yeah, ripped us to pieces. Thank you for the reminder. I'll go for
Sorry.
my my final player and my second striker. It's a bit of a sentimental one. I won't lie. It's Connor Jennings, Tranmere Rovers. He's clearly a club legend there. But with his performances recently, I should say, he more than deserves a shout in this. If you look back over his 15-year career so far, he's played 286 times for Tranmere across three different spells, but he's amassed 82 goal contributions for them. So that's 58 goals and 24 assists, which, if you take that as a whole, appearances, the club, and all of that, it's very rare in modern football to get that kind of to get those kind of numbers with one player associated with one club. So, really impressive. But if you kind of review his contributions more recently, it just kind of it provides further evidence to me that clearly, all right, yeah, he's a club legend and he's been brilliant for Tranmere in the past, but he's plenty good enough at the ripe old age of, what is he, 34, I think, to be just as effective in League Two now. 4 goals and 2 assists in 17 matches so far. Three came in the last three games. The only player at Tranmere with a better record than him at the moment is Amari Patrick. Honourable mention for him, by the way. Again, I've spoken about him too much to add him in my team, but what a player. I love the story. I hope he can keep it in the back of the net and he can fire Tranmere up because, as I said, yeah, club legend, but 34 years old, still doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very good shout again. And actually, my last pick's a little bit of a sentimental one as well because he was on loan with us a while back. He just didn't necessarily get the chance he deserved. I'm talking about Emre Tezgel, who, again, we covered him very, very recently, but that's because he's had his big moment where he's gone and got his hat trick. But actually, this season had been a little bit slow for him in terms of league games. But for me, he does look like a natural finisher. I mean, all it takes is one look at that hat trick. You've got different types of goals there. You got header, first time strike, all sorts in there. And across all competitions, it's 8 goals and 2 assists from 17 games, which is a very, very good return. He's only 20, and I still think the best is yet to come from someone like him. So although his league stats don't necessarily look the best at the minute, I'd say give it another month or two. I think it could be a different story entirely.
Yeah, again, I like that shout as underrated because I think he came in hot prospect. Everybody was quite excited, and then with the start, I do think he's kind of dropped down the pecking order. People have kind of almost forgotten about him, and then the weekend he absolutely popped up and reminded everybody just how good he
Yep.
is. To be fair, brilliant hat trick. Right, well that was Luke and I's 11s. A very difficult one to do, and as I said, we all kind of have set ourselves different rules and different ways of doing this. We will take a quick look at. We've got Jake's and we've got Harry's from the League Two Lowdown team. So I think if we start with Jake first, Jake also Will Stanway in goal. There's a common player there. Left back Finley Monroe absolutely deserves to be in there in my opinion. Centre backs he had Adam Senior of Barnet, another common player, and Harrison Burke of Walsall. Brilliant player, really good addition, and Haji Minoga of Salford City at right back. He had
Shock.
left midfield. Pardon?
Shock. He's a poor
Yeah,
Salford.
I know. Cracking player though, to be fair.
Yeah, obviously fair shout.
Left midfield, Tyler Walton of Accrington Stanley. He's got a centre mid partnership of Matty Virtue of Fleetwood Town and Luke Young of Cheltenham Town. A couple of really good, really interesting additions there, actually. And right midfield, he had Stephen Duke McKenna, same as you, Luke. And up front, Josh Marcher Crew and Ryan Graydon of Fleetwood. Any
Good
standouts there?
striker shouts. Good striker shouts are both of those. Both have obviously started the season pretty well, I'd say. And to be fair, I think striker's probably the hardest position to choose when it comes to underrated because it's either a player is scoring or they're not, and it's just whether they've been noticed when they're scoring. But if they're scoring, chances are they've been noticed. So, uh, yeah, but I think both of those are good shouts because if you think of top strikers at League Two, you probably don't jump to March and Graydon straight away. So yeah, I'd say decent picks there.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I've got to say I like the centre mid partnership as well. Matty Virtue's one that, yeah, probably flown on the radar on from my perspective, but I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for him when we play Fleetwood. That's for sure. Um, Okay, we'll move on to Harry. He had Joe Day in goal again. Think fair shout. He was definitely one of the three that I was looking at putting in there. He had a back four of Max Clark of Gillingham at left back, Omar Suwumni of Bromley at centre half, Jack Tucker of Colchester United again. I think interesting shout. And at right back he had Lewis Cass of Harrogate Town. Midfield four, right mid, Ryan Glover of Barnet. Two central midfield players, Liam Kelly of MK Dons and Callum Ceesay of Salford City. Left midfield, Stephen Duke McKenna. I feel like I'm the only one who hasn't put Duke McKenna in their side. And then a front two, a big front two of Josh Andrews of Gillingham and Mike Fondop of Oldham Athletic. I love the enigma that is Mike Fondop. Any standouts there for you?
That really is the biggest of front twos there.
That's
Jeez.
a proper League Two side. That I'm a big fan.
Oh yeah, no, Fondop especially. I think that's a fantastic shout. Definitely someone that EFL fans wouldn't necessarily know much about, but actually very, very solid player there. And the other one I'm going to pick up on is actually going to be Jack Tucker because he's one I kind of looked at and I was like, is it, could I get away with it? Because that once upon a time he was one of those players that was, I mean, for us he was supposed to be the replacement for Harry Darling, and he's obviously a regular Championship starter now. Obviously things haven't worked out that way, but his start for Colchester since the turn of the new season, he's been absolutely fantastic and a dominant force in the air, and turned out a bit of a creative player going forward all of a sudden as well. So fair play to him. Only other thing I'm going to say is I'm very glad he's mentioned Liam Kelly, even though I don't think he's necessarily underrated, because I think everyone knows he's a very good player.
Well,
But you
I
can
think
make.
all Crawley and MK Dons fans do with your little link that you've got where you were trading players
Oh
every
yeah,
five
no, yeah,
seconds.
it's just it's just an ongoing thing, isn't it? We must have one scheduled for January by now. Sure, actually,
There's
maybe we
got to be
don't want any
another.
now. We don't want any now. You can keep them. But no, I can kind of see why he said it because Liam Kelly is everyone knows Liam Kelly's a very good player, but I think there's another level there that I think only us as Dons fans and maybe Crawley fans as well will have seen, and hopefully it's something we'll see more of this season. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got the only other shout I'll give. Completely agree with the Jack Tucker one. Massive fan of Jack Tucker, obviously. For clearly he was a Gills youngster, and but Ryan Glover of Barnet, I think really good call as well. I think he's had a really good start to the season. Right, well that brings us to the end of this random episode of the League Two Lowdown. Thank you all for tuning in as always. We do really appreciate it. We'll be back at we will be back at the weekend for another podcast where we'll select. I'll call it a different kind of 11, and it might cause some controversy and stir some things. So we'll leave it at that. But tune in to find out.
Oh god,
Make
yeah,
sure you.
you have to be about for that. That's all I'm saying. There is going to
It's
be some very interesting discussion.
there
Enough
is
said.
there really is. I'm sort of half looking forward to it and half dreading it. Yeah, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, and please download the podcast from wherever you get your podcast from. Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram as well at the League Two Lowdown, and give us your thoughts on the episode. Thank you again from Luke and I, and we'll see you again next time.